This is a follow-up to a video that I posted probably about March time, I think, toward the end of March anyway. So as promised, and it's actually well timed for a reason I'll go into in a minute, but as promised, I said that I would do a follow-up video being, I guess, a more long-term review of the Specialized Venge Vias Disc 2017, so actually the Pro model. So somehow I'll post a link to the original. But at the time of recording, not recording now, but back in March, I'd had the bike for about 3 months. I'd probably put about 300 miles on it in total. And as well as going over the spec, which I'll touch on a little bit during this, but this actually is going to be more about what the bike's actually like to live with. So yeah, rewind back to March, there's about 300 miles on it, and I actually decided to post it because there wasn't too many user reviews available, certainly not on YouTube, and certainly not away from I guess the kind of normal magazines and websites, depending on which country you're in. So this is a follow-up to it, but those reviews, so the magazines, the websites, they all kind of alluded to the same issue with the bike, or same two issues I should say, one of which is weight. Now it's an aero bike, so you know it isn't going to be the lightest in the world, but it's not too bad. And the second thing, and this came up actually more consistently, is the comfort of the ride, and actually the fact that you can feel pretty beaten up. So yeah, I'd done 300 miles at that point, and I think the longest ride that I'd done was about 50 miles. I think I'd only done one of those off the top of my head. We are early August, so we are about 5 months on. I have done several 50 milers, several being 10, 12, maybe even more, a couple of 60s, 170 or 75 I should say, and most recently completed Ride London on it. And I stand by my original kind of opinion, I guess, and that is, it really is not that uncomfortable. I've ridden aero bikes before. I owned a time trial bike up until a couple of months back. Let me start again. The time trial bike was a harsh ride. 40 miles on that, you knew you'd done 40, felt like 140. It wasn't anything to do with the saddle, it was just a very, very stiff frame. I would say, based on the two brands, I suspect this is probably a stiffer frame, but it's far more comfortable. So most recently, as I touched on, I did a 100-mile sportive at the weekend, but actually I did 10 miles cycling to the start and about 10 miles coming back, so 120 miles on this in one day, and no problems at all, wasn't uncomfortable, no tingling in the hands, the seat, nothing. Since that first video I have had a fit, and actually there's another thing to mention, the online calculation through the Specialized website to basically tell you what what width bars, length stem, and actually the overall kind of size of the frame works really, really well. Because I went for a fit really just to make sure that saddle and cleat position were where they needed to be. No changes, there was no amendment, that's still the same stem that was on there beforehand, so yeah, no problems at all. This bike then, so as far as the actual ride comfort, very easy to live with, in my opinion. That's what I found anyway. I previously owned a Villa 101 Air. That wasn't an uncomfortable bike, but compared to this, I would say I probably had more kind of niggles after a 70-80 miler than what I do riding this, which is, you know, pretty surprising, really, all things considered. What else can I say? It is very easy to live with in the sense that no cables at all on the front, so cleaning, it's an absolute piece of, you know what comes next. Degrease the chain, hot soapy water, and you can just run over it. You're not having to move cables out of the way. So from that point of view, it's absolutely brilliant. It probably takes me 5-10 minutes less to clean this than what it did before, and so who'd have thought that, you know, cables and having to move them out of the way, and if you're anything like me, checking whether or not it's actually scuffing the frame. So there isn't any of that now. I would say the only thing that I'm not, and this isn't really a problem, but the only thing which kind of stands out for me is, you'll remember from the original video I actually had a SWAT storage, whatever it's called, a specialised make. It attaches there on the 2 screws, so I do use that. Equally, I've also got a rear camera. The rear camera attaches on here, so when I have the SWAT inner tube and gas canister and all that stuff mounted, I can't have the camera, so I have to have one or the other. That's probably my only niggle. I probably could get a saddlebag in here. This tube though is quite broad, so I need to be quite smart. So yeah, this tube is this seat post is quite wide and a bit of an odd shape. It's not flat at the back, so actually mounting a bag up against that could be a bit of a problem. To be fair, I haven't tried, but hey, it's an aero bike anyway, so you're only going to mess up the lines of the bike. So I don't have any complaints with this, none at all actually. Even fitting the Q-rings is fairly easy. Disc brakes, after they've been running properly, no problems with them either. The through axles, no issues with those coming loose. That can be a bit of a problem from what I've read on, not necessarily this model, but on some bikes. I think with the force through the going through the front wheel in particular, then the through axles do have a habit of loosening off. I think that might also be an issue with the sort of traditional quick releases. So I have, other than the saddlebag, no complaints with this at all, not one. I'm really pleased. I've bought other bikes in the past and yeah, there's been a bit of a niggle here and there. I still stand by the fact as well that I did the right thing, saving myself a couple of grand going for the next model down. So the next model down being, so this is the Pro level. The next one up is the S-Works. That comes with SRAM ETAP, so the wireless group set. This is just Ultegra. You also get on the S-Works model a S-Works crank with built-in quark power meter. Wasn't bothered by that because, as you can see, I've gone for the rotor crank. So there's a power meter on there anyway. I already own that, and I always knew I was going to swap it over because I just think the Q-rings look a million times better with the rotor cranks. So really no problem at all. The Garmin mounts, fantastic, nicely integrated. You can just see, hopefully the light adjusts, nicely integrated. And I've even managed to get myself a camera mount which just bolts straight through onto the original Garmin mount that the bike comes with. So nothing to add. Overall, very pleased. It's decent to ride, and actually it's pretty effortless to ride as well. You can cruise along at 18, 19, 20 miles an hour. So what's that, between 30 and 35k an hour with very little effort. I would definitely recommend this. I think this is probably the model to go for. The next model down, and then further down the range, they don't look as good as this, primarily that's because they don't have the level of integration around the front end, and it's also a lower group set. But yeah, I can't recommend this bike enough. It's even better than I thought or hoped it was going to be. So I mentioned before it's well timed, because the miles that I've put on the bike, and also a couple of people have commented recently. Actually, one's commented, and somebody contacted me through Twitter asking whether or not I would recommend it. I most definitely would. It will be interesting to see what they do with the Venge as a whole now that the 2018 bikes are coming out. As far as I'm aware, there's a few around at the moment where there's kind of 10% discounts. I think it's worthwhile at £6,000 here in the UK. So the fact that they're around now for I don't know, 5.2, 5.4, or in that kind of region, then I think it's well worth it. Wheels are still nice and true. Again, dead easy to clean. Absolutely no complaints at all. So leave me a comment in the section below. Any questions or anything I've missed that you want me to follow up on, then just let me know. The only final point here is this is the Ultegra 6870, so it's the Di2 version of the the Di2 version of the Ultegra 6800. I am actually considering upgrading front rear mechs and possibly the hoods as well, but a little bit undecided about that or about those. So thanks for watching, and look out for future content.